Hi, I'm Megan. Welcome to today's live reading of Finding the End Zone by Tam DeRudder Jackson, presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Join me. Chapter 1, Jamaica. His eyes flashed blue fires. He undressed me with them layer by layer, as though he planned to have me right there in the aisle of Creston Hall. My heart sputtered, then raced in my chest as if I'd run a marathon for days rather than merely walked into the auditorium for the start of fall classes. The heaviness low in my belly drew my attention to my suddenly damp panties, and I clamped my thighs together. Who the hell is this guy? Oh my, sweetheart, looks like you've caught someone's eye, my best friend Axel Benson said into my ear, tearing my gaze from the mesmerizing scrutiny of the man who commanded the attention of every person in the lecture hall. I whispered out the side of my mouth, "Who is he?" "Callahan O'Reilly, starting tight end on the Wildcats football team," Axel answered, all in his voice. What's he doing in a 400 level lit class? My friend's indulgent grin put my hackles up. Same thing we are, probably. Picking up required upper level credits. Hotshot stepped into our conversation. Do I know you from somewhere? Though he dialed down the heat, the banked fires in his sea blue eyes smoldered in my heated core. Damn it. Football players, any sports players for that matter, were not my type. Tightening my grip on the strap of my backpack, I said, "Doubt it." "Jamaica works at the sweet shop in the Union," Axel oh so helpfully supplied. The oof that followed might have been from the elbow I threw to his ribs. I don't normally resort to violence, but Hotshot's muscular toned body combined with his intense stare overwhelmed my common sense. Folding my arms over my chest, I said, "From the looks of you, nothing sweet has ever gone into your mouth." His gaze flicked down my body and back up to snag mine a little, his grin positively wolfish. "Shall we test that theory?" I blinked. What the hell? Are you flirting with me? All right, you pretenses of scholarly pursuits. Find a seat. We don't have all day. Dr. Dare's curmudgeonly tones interrupted our stare down. Grinning like a lunatic, Axel shoulder bumps me, his eyes darting between Hotshot and me. "Miss Winslow, are you coming or going?" Dr. Dare's voice was dry as the Sahara. My cheeks tingled with a rush of blood at being called out by the one professor I had yet to impress in front of the hottest guy I'd ever seen. The corner of Hotshot's mouth tipped up. His voice dropped an octave. "Yes, Miss Winslow." "Are you going?" His eyes danced as if he knew exactly the effect he was having on me. "Or coming?" Gritting my teeth, I grabbed a handful of Axel's sleeves and tugged him along the row beside me, settling down somewhere near the middle. Even after I'd earned A's in his last two classes, Dr. Dare didn't take me seriously. If a certain football player weren't so tall and deliciously muscular and standing in the way of me reaching my usual seat, I wouldn't have drawn Dr. Dare's negative attention before class even started. Hell, I hadn't even had a chance to ask one question, let alone my usual several. Now I'd annoyed him by not finding my seat in a timely manner, thanks to some jock who was too gorgeous for my own good. Hotshot ambled down the aisle to an open seat a couple of rows back, tossed his backpack in the chair beside him, and angled his body so he could look at me. When he caught me watching him, he winked, and I wanted to throw something at him. The smirk on his face said he knew that too. As a junior, I desperately wanted to impress the English department chair at least once before graduation. Callahan O'Reilly put paid to that dream when he stopped me with his eyes in the middle of the aisle. "English literature or cultural study will demand your concentration and no small amount of your time." Dr. Dare ignored the little drama playing out between a certain football player and me. Axel, the traitor, did not. "If Callahan O'Reilly looked at me the way he looked at you, I think he would be skipping the first day of class," he whispered as he fanned himself beside me. "Shh." I stared straight ahead at our professor. "And you have a boyfriend," I reminded my best friend out of the corner of my mouth. He wouldn't blame me if I bailed for Callahan O'Reilly. I shot him a serious side eye and concentrated on the droning of our prof. By the time class ended, I'd annoyed our teacher with no fewer than 5 questions, all of them legitimate, mind you, and endured another wink and the ghost of a grin from a certain irritating football player. Before he gathered up his materials and stuffed them into his satchel, Dr. Dare announced his TA would be reading off the names of classmates he'd paired us with for our class projects. We'd need to choose an era and focus of study that fits one of the themes he'd outlined in the syllabus, and read and present relevant literature to support our thesis as our culminating project, which counted as half our grade. I glanced at Axel. It would be a miracle if he chose us to work together, wouldn't it? With the number of times he caught us whispering in our Shakespeare class last semester, yeah, it would be a miracle. His eyes strayed down the aisle. I wouldn't mind if he paired me up with O'Reilly. He shoulder bumped me again, and I let out a long-suffering sigh. If he were your partner, would you be able to stop fangirling long enough to do any work? Eventually. My friend dragged out the word with a suggestive laugh. As usual, I couldn't help the tug at the corner of my mouth from his antics. He'd been my best friend since we met in the cafeteria on the first day of high school, two loners who didn't fit in with the rest of the school but couldn't be bothered much to care. Discovering our mutual love of literature and writing drew us close, and by Christmas that year we were inseparable. It came as no surprise to our old classmates that we ended up at the same college, studying the same major. Axel Benson and Jory Bond, the TA called out. A guy at the end of our road leaned forward and waved to Axel. Better luck next time, Ace. Axel grinned. Nah, this is great. Jory and I worked on a project together freshman year. He grabbed his pack from the floor and stood. Move those pretty legs over, would you? I angled myself to let him pass and glanced around at the people already paired up. A sick feeling settled into the pit of my stomach as I saw Hotshot and I were among the last ones left without partners. Then the TA shot my semester straight to hell when he called out Callahan O'Reilly and Jamaica Winslow. Fuck a duck. Chapter 2, Callahan. That riot of chestnut curls slipped past her shoulders drew my attention first. The way the strap of her backpack snagged her baggy Mountain State University sweatshirt and pulled it tight across her chest sent my gaze to her sweet rack. I've always been a boob man, and this girl's looked like the perfect handfuls for a guy who can palm over a football. I let my eyes slide down to discover a pair of toned legs filling out black yoga pants. But if she turned around, I'd have an eyeful of gorgeous round ass. Instead, her friend said something that made her snort laugh, snapping my attention back to her face. My gaze collided with a pair of the deepest green eyes I'd ever seen, and I couldn't tear myself away from them. The two of them whispering would have made me laugh if not for how gobsmacked I was. This girl was gorgeous. Then she opened her mouth and sassed me, which meant I had to play with her. I parked my ass in a seat with a clear line of sight to both the prof and to her, but most of my attention was on her. When I winked at her, I swear steam puffed out of her ears, so I had to do it again. By the time the professor made his announcements and turned the class over to the TA, I learned a few things about Jamaica Winslow. 1, she was prepared. 2, she was super intelligent. 3, she irritated the prof. I couldn't figure out if she did it on purpose, but from the prof's nasally, snobby delivery, I thought maybe she did, which interested me more. 4, she couldn't keep her eyes off of me. That part I liked a lot. Then the TA did me a solid. Not on purpose, but I'll take it. He paired me up with Jamaica for our class project. Kind of felt like I'd caught the ball on the 20 behind the corner with only the safety to beat to hit the end zone. I gathered up my pack and headed up the aisle to chat with my new partner. Judging by the scowl twisting her perfect pillowy lips, she didn't see our pairing the same way I did. Time to change that. Looks like we both got lucky, I said. She stuffed her hand on her hip and glared at me. You did anyway. I hiked a brow and waited, the exasperated sigh that escaped her disturbed curls falling over her forehead, momentarily distracting me. I'm an English major, judging by some of the other pairings. Dare put English majors with non-English majors. I hope you have something to bring to the table. Leaning in close, I whispered, I have all kinds of something to bring to the table. The pink stain on her high cheekbones gratified me. I always like to start things on a first name basis. I stuck out my hand. Callahan O'Reilly. It was all I could do to stifle the laugh that tried to escape me when she bared her teeth. Jamaica Winslow. Her small hand was warm, soft, and surprisingly strong as she shook mine. When our palms met, a tingle feathered over my skin, and I held on for an extra couple of seconds when she tried to pull away. Her eyes widened a fraction and satisfaction coursed through me. Good to know that I got to her. She slipped her backpack off her shoulder, setting it on the arm of a chair to fish around inside of it. A second later, she extracted a day planner, opened it, and like magic, pulled a pen from somewhere in her curls. The action had me leaning in for a closer look at what else she might be hiding in that mess of hair. From beneath her brow, she gifted me with a long-suffering glare I met with a grin. When can you meet so we can figure out our project? Tuesday nights after 8 and some Thursday nights after 8 if we have a home game. She consulted her old school calendar. I might have to work on those nights. Do you have any other time? Not in the mornings. I have weight training and film from 6 to 8:30. Ticking off on my fingers. I said classes from 9 to noon, lunch and meetings, classes from 2 to 3:30, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, practice from 4 to 7, dinner. At her wide-eyed stare, I added film on some Monday and Wednesday nights, depending. Wow, that's wow. Can you ask your boss not to schedule you on Tuesday and Thursday evenings? Or we can meet on the nights when I don't work. I'm sure we'll be doing most of this project independently and exchanging notes anyway. That's not what it says on the syllabus. Excuse me? Didn't you read the syllabus? It says the group project must show evidence of close collaboration. Her eyes saucered as I quote the syllabus from memory, and disappointment put an edge in my voice. That doesn't imply independent research and exchanging emails. I crossed my arms over my chest and enjoyed the way her pupils dilated a fraction when her gaze dropped to my arms. That was more like it. She glanced down at her day planner again and said, "Looks like I can meet you at 8:15 p.m. tomorrow night. Does that work for you?" Sure. You don't have to check your calendar or something? I tapped a finger to my temple. It's all right there. Tilting her head, she glanced up at me from beneath her brows. Of course it is. The stereotyping irritated me, so I goaded her. Your place or mine? She blew out an impatient breath. How about the study tables at the back of the first floor of the library? The corner of my mouth drew up. Doubt it will be as quiet as your place, but we can meet there. Muttering something under her breath that sounded like Lord save me from arrogant jocks, she wrote in her calendar and shoved it into her backpack. When she straightened up, the pen disappearing back under her hair. Fascinating. Arrogance comes with the territory. Dumb, not so much. I'm glad you got it right. For a second, she closed her gorgeous eyes and pulled her lips between her teeth. I didn't have to hear her say, "Give me patience," to know she thought. I didn't have to hear her say, excuse me, "Give me patience," to know she thought it. Damn, this girl was going to be fun. See you tomorrow night, Jamaica. I spun my ball cap around so the bill shielded my eyes, saluted her, and headed up the aisle. I would have rather spent the rest of the morning teasing a certain curly-haired beauty, but I didn't have to check my phone to know that I was already late to lunchtime film.